Good evening, everyone. Very warm welcome. And it'll be nice to welcome when I can see your faces. Yes, thank you. If it's possible and you can turn on your videos, we really appreciate it. It's good to see lovely faces. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. So my name is Anita. Many of you know my name by now, maybe, but for the benefit of anyone who's joining today first time, and I welcome everyone on behalf of Manhattan Meditation Center. Manhattan Center is offering all these community services. So a warm welcome to everyone who is joining on Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. We are really multifaceted, right? Meet in so many cyberspace. Before I talk about, the regular announcements, what I generally make, it just came to my mind, maybe I talk about the organization a little bit. The full name of Brahma Kumari's organization is Prajapita Brahma Kumari Godly University. Although it is not registered outside India with that name, because of the rules and regulations, the word university does not qualify to be registered outside India. But original name of the organization is Prajapita Brahma Kumari Godly University. So when we say we are lifelong spiritual students, that's because in this Godly University, that's our routine. We study every day. Of course, we offer a lot of community services. And we are in 110 plus countries. We have, I don't even know the exact count, but maybe Sister Judy might know that number, but I think we have something around 10,000 centers worldwide. And we offer community services. That's one thing we do everywhere. And all the services what we offer are free. And everyone who is associated with the organization we are all volunteers. So I don't know if ever the thought occurred to you when I say I am with the organization for 10 plus years, Sister Judy is there for almost close to 30 years or so. And there are many of us who are there for many, many years. What do we actually do? Did you ever think about it? The whole focus of the organization is not just community services. This is just a little part what we do. It's about self-transformation. And that's what we work on. That's why we are lifelong students. Our day starts with the meditation. That's the first thing we do in the morning. And after that, we have a spiritual newsletter, which we study. Same letter, all of us, all over the world, we study every day. We center ourselves, we set our perspective right, and then we go out in the world and use that knowledge. I just thought it's a good aspect to actually reflect on, right? Okay, so before I introduce today's topic, just a little bit about the housekeeping. Recordings of all these Thursday talks are available on our YouTube channel. If you want to access it on the YouTube channel, it is under the playlist called Wisdom in Action. Besides this, every Thursday lectures, Manhattan Center offers live meditation twice a day. Power Boost meditation in the afternoon at 12 p.m. and Good Night meditation at 8 p.m. Good Night meditation is all 7 days. So, and it's only 15 minutes. If you're joining it, it's wonderful. If you haven't tried it, please make an effort to join live meditation. In case you're not able to do at either of the timings, recordings are again available on the YouTube channel and on our Facebook page, and you can take the benefit by just watching the recordings. We are also offering now meditation courses on an alternate basis. When I say alternate, just the type of meditation courses what we offer. So July, we just finished the 7-day meditation course. In August, we are offering 2 days meditation course. I'm forgetting the name. Invisible word of truth. So if you have not, if you're interested and if you want to register, the link is already up available on our website, and I will post the website address in a little while. And every month we are offering a workshop also. Third Saturday of the month, we are offering a workshop, and that workshop is also on the website. Quite a bit. You don't need to memorize it. You just need to know where to go to look for the information. All right. So we really keep you busy and give you a lot of different little taste of different things, what you can do it for yourself. So I hope you're taking the benefit and spread the word, whosoever can take the benefit from all these services we offer. So I'm going to invite Sister Judy. Today's topic, nurture true self. I'm forgetting the topic again.
It's all right. No problem.
Self-respect. Nurture true self-respect. Yeah. So, Sister Judy, I was thinking, I'm going to ask you, start this thing with the question for you. When I was in my teenage years, I remember not speaking to my brother for several months because I felt like he misbehaved. And I said, don't I have a self-respect? I don't want to speak to him. So,
A notion of self-respect, Anita.
so the question is, what is true self-respect? We often do that, right? We say, oh, my self-respect is hurt and I'm not going to interact. What is true self-respect and how we should nurture it? So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So
Welcome, Sister Judy.
thank you very much, Anita. And hello. When you said warm welcome, you aren't kidding. I think everyone is roasting wherever we are, right?
Absolutely. New Jerseyans especially. We are literally roasted.
I think everyone's pretty warm. So what I thought I would do with you today is really focus a bit on how do you nurture the true self. And I'm going to start with a story. I had a spiritual teacher who I really learned a lot from. And whenever I was really stuck in my spiritual life, I would go to her. And she would give me some wise counsel, and then I would try to do that thing she'd told me. So there was one time I was in England, and I had been doing a lot of what we call service. So I had been doing a lot of, in my case, a lot of facilitating programs and a lot of moderating things and moderating dialogues and a lot of things like that. And I was really tired. I was really, really fatigued. And so I went to her, and her name was Dadi Janki. She was actually the head of the Brahma Kumaris until 2020, when she left the body at age 104. So I think she stayed around just to help me get my act straight. So I went to her and I said, Dadi, I'm really, really fatigued. I'm really tired. I'd like you to take something off my plate. Remove one of, I don't even care what you take off. Just remove some of this service because I'm too tired to do it all. She thought for a moment and she said, no, I'm not going to do that. She said, you're doing it wrong. She said, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to do the task that you're doing and then come back up above. And then if you have another task, you go down and do the task and then you come back up. And she said, why don't you try to do it that way? And then that was it. Out the door you go. She's on to the next person. And I thought, what is she talking about? go down and do the task, come up above. I actually did not understand what she was saying. I mean, on some intellectual level, I kind of got what she was saying, but as far as actually being able to do it, I couldn't imagine what she was trying to say. And I was so not sure of what she was saying that 2 years later, when she came to New York, I made an appointment with her and I asked her the exact same question. She was in Great Neck. I went, I made the appointment, I came in and I said, you know, Daddy, I'm really, really exhausted. I need you to take something off of my plate. And she acted as if she'd never heard the question before. I hope she hadn't remembered it because it's embarrassing to go back with the same question. She looked at me and she said, look, you're doing it wrong. You're supposed to go down and do the task and then go up. She said, your service is your fortune. I can't take your service away from you. And then next. So I spent the next 20 years trying to do what she was telling me to do. And what I'm going to talk with you about this evening is what she was trying to tell me to do, because it has everything to do with nurturing the true self. Now, what is this true self, right? Who is this true self? So by now, you've probably been on enough of these evening chats that you know that you have an eternal self. You are a being, an eternal being, and you're in a limited physical case, right? Or vehicle, a chariot. So you're that living light inside, and you're in this package. Now, that living light, that true self, is for everyone, is beautiful. It's eternal. It is basically conscient light energy, and it is fundamentally only goodness. So it is only pure. It is only peaceful. It is only having unlimited love. It is only joyful. That original, beautiful you that shines through this case is that. Now, by this time, in time, and we're not talking about time tonight, so I'm not going to linger there, but at this time, what we are aware of is a certain kind of weariness in the world. And I think you know what I'm talking about. We're all tired, right? I mean, it's just the world is tiring. What's going on in the news is tiring. What's going on with our friends and family wears us down. What's going on with our jobs, whether we're on site or we're off site, is tiring. And the more we try to do, the more tired that we get. And I am going to imagine that one of the reasons that you're on a spiritual path is because you have a feeling that this kind of restoration or rejuvenation or strength, power, life comes from that inner world rather than from the outer world. You must have that sense, which is why you've chosen to be on a spiritual path and attempt the waking up of this true self and the reviving and nourishment of this true self. And as Anita said, with the Brahma Kumaris, this is our major focus. You know, as she said, we have 8,000 centers in 120 countries. We've been running since the 30s, and we have a 30-year relationship with the United Nations. So what are we doing all that time? We're focusing on the renewal of the true self, the waking up, and the transformation of the self as a means to uplift the world. So the things that Dottie was talking with me about, the 2 times I went to her with the same question, are the same things that I'm talking with you about tonight. So what was she trying to tell me? So when we move along in these cases, these chariots, these bodies, right? The soul comes into this body and this family and this whole social structure, and we spend our lives adapting to that. So we spend our lives trying to be a good whatever, a good daughter, a good son, a good neighbor, a good citizen, make money, figure out the job, be a good student, get along, take care of the body, not be distracted by the wrong things. It's a full-time job, right? Making all that work. So we spend most of our time doing that, trying to make that adjustment so that the bodies, the roles that we're playing, that we manage them. So we focus most of the time on what is actually the temporary, right? The body that we're in for this period of time. There's a book that I may have mentioned before by this opinion writer, David Brooks. And it was called Road to Character. And at the opening, he says that there's 2 kinds of virtues. He said there's resume virtues and there's eulogy virtues. And he said, now we spend most of our life working on the resume virtues. But if you ask anyone what matters, they'll all tell you the same thing, right? They all say, no. I mean, what did you want them to say at your funeral? You know, he was really efficient. He knew how to do Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and, right? Ran teams well, played well with others, studied hard. No, you want them to talk about your eternal character, right? Courageous and brave and loving and patient and all of that. But because we are this true self inside this temporary self, we get quite distracted. And even if you're on a spiritual path, you get distracted because there's a lot to do. So I think of these things that distract us as traps in time. So what Dottie was telling me was, she was saying, you know, you're getting trapped in time and you're supposed to be beyond time. That's what she was telling me. You're getting stuck in time when in fact you should be beyond time. And then when time calls you, you should come in and do the thing and then go back up. So what are these traps? I'm calling them traps. So I think there are outer traps and there are inner traps. So the outer traps, sitting at our computer, like we are right now, right? Sitting at our computer, watching the screen, making lists, doing things on the lists, managing meetings, being in meetings, planning things, thinking about things, engaging with our landlords and bosses and people on the train and people on the sidewalk and all that, shopping, online shopping in particular, social media. We can squander hours clicking around on our devices just by themselves. And I can go on, right? All of these things pull our attention down into time. And huge amounts of time can go by while we are focused in time. So those are kind of the outer traps. Now, what about the inner traps? Because you can look like you're doing nothing, but actually inside you can be in a big trap. So for example, Does your mind ever go and think about mistakes that you made? You either feel guilty, or you feel embarrassed, or you feel apologetic. Or what about mistakes that someone else made? Right? Your mind goes, I can't believe they said that to me. I can't believe they wrote that or did that or whatever. That kind of an inner pull is also a trap. The pulls of jealousy or competition, comparing yourself to someone else, whether it's their vacation or their children's performance at school or their car or whatever, their job, their whatever. Memories pull us, right? Suddenly we're going along and the mind just heads off down some track and you're in another place replaying something. Worry. We worry a lot, right? We worry about money. We worry about job. We worry about the future. We worry about whether we're going to have enough. Then we worry about, well, what should we do with what we have? Oh my gosh, look at the stock market. It's a mess. Maybe we ought to just put it in the mattress. No, that's wrong. We spend all this time with the mind pulled into these various things. When the mind is in those places, what happens to the self is that we begin to lose altitude. We begin to get fatigued. We begin to feel not only exhausted, but kind of flat. Do you know what I mean? We lose that zeal we have for life, and we just feel we're just marking time. We're just moving along in time. So, and I would imagine, I think we don't notice how much time the mind is there. It's like we blank out, and we just kind of come to and realize, where was I? Where was my mind? So what Dottie was trying to tell me was that I would get down in a planning mode on these things, and I would be there for hours, and maybe even days, planning or doing or whatever. And she was saying, you're not coming up to be rejuvenated, to be revived. So as I've been thinking about this, I've been experimenting myself with this. So what I'm sharing with you is what I have been doing. I always have some little spiritual project going. So my current spiritual project is this. So here's what I'm noticing. The first thing we have to do if we're going to escape these, I'm going to call them traps in time, is we have to first recognize that we're in a trap. You have to notice. You have to say, oh my gosh, I'm sitting here thinking about what happened yesterday. Or I'm sitting here worrying about this thing that's not going to happen for 2 weeks. Or I'm focused completely on my knee that's hurting me. Or I'm worried about someone in my family. Somebody who's not doing that well, etc. So first you have to notice. You have to recognize that you're in that place. Now, once you recognize, you have to do this spiritual move that we call a full stop. Full stop, right? It's like you're going to stop the audio on your device. You hit that button and it comes to a full stop. Now, has anyone ever tried to do the full stop? Any of you who are on camera? What happens often when you do the full stop? It starts back up, right? A lot of times. If you're really focused, if you were really intent on this thing, it comes right back. So then you've got to go back in and you've got to stop again. And you have to do that until the mind really stops. So you have to recognize, you have to do this full stop, and then, and this is what Dottie was trying to show me, you have to then pull your attention up out of time into things that are timeless. Out of time into things that are timeless. Now, when you fix the mind on something timeless, it's like it instantly revives. It's like a shot of oxygen or fresh air, because that's the nature of the true self. The true self lives in eternity. The true self doesn't really live fully expressed down here. It lives up in eternity. So what are some things out of time that we can connect with once we get out of this trap? So on a simple level, you could take something like gratitude. Just thank you. Something that you're thankful for. You can take something like compassion. So if you're worried about someone, instead of being in worry, which pulls you into that situation, you move to compassion, which is a more detached stance. Detached isn't a very nice word in English, but the idea is that you step away from the trouble in time and you look at it as if you're in a movie and you're watching it on screen, not without caring. You care, you have compassion. But instead of being in worry, which is when the attention is wrapped around the object of your worry, now you're unattached, you've stepped back a little bit, and now you're sharing your own compassion, your own mercy, your own sympathy. Mercy, compassion, and sympathy belong to the timeless. Worry, fear, anxiety are the traps in time. Worry, fear, anxiety actually create a bondage with the thing you're worried about or you're afraid of. They drain us. Whereas when you're in these eternal states, the state of sympathy, compassion, mercy, kindness, humility, love, patience, joy, understanding, these are timeless states. The true self is composed of what is timeless. The true self is made up of currents of these qualities, almost like rays. The way that a light will shine a ray, it's the same with the true self. The true self has those eternal essences as its nature. So what you're doing when you detach from the time trap and you connect to the timeless is you're bringing yourself back into that atmosphere, that eternal atmosphere that revives the true self, the soul. And that's what she was trying to tell me. There is another level beyond this one that I also want to share with you, but I wonder if we should just try a little quick meditation to experiment with this. Why don't we just play with it a little bit? I want to take you to another place, but I also want you to get a feeling for how do you actually do this, because I'm not talking about the hypothetical here. What I'm actually doing, I'm about 6 weeks into my experiment, is I'm actually noticing, I'm doing exactly what I'm telling you. I'm noticing when I'm beginning to get tired. And then I'm turning inside. So let's just do a little experiment, a little 5-minute experiment here. So I want you to imagine that you are in your day, right? Now, I don't know what's in your day, but you know what's in your day. So just take yourself into your normal day. Maybe it's at the beginning of the day when you're trying to get out the door or get other people out the door. Maybe it has to do with logging onto a computer to work or getting on a train and going to work. So take yourself in, immerse yourself in your normal day. And notice how used to the feelings you've gotten, how used you've gotten to feeling just a little bit numb, right? Just a little bit. This is what I have to do. This is the next thing on my list. So we move along, whether it's on the train or on the sidewalk or on the phone or on Zoom, we'll move along into that day. And what comes in front of the mind is the next thing that's on our list. And we can go on like that for a really long time, getting very tired. But if you make this a practice, then some part of your mind will tap you, will touch you, and ask you to notice what's going on. And when that happens, you turn inside and notice your inner space. Now you're still on the train, you're still on the sidewalk, wherever you are, but now your face has turned inside. And you're looking at the mind. And you see that the mind is spinning. It's spinning on something, right? Maybe it's thinking about a scene from yesterday. Maybe it's thinking about what it has to do as soon as it gets home. But some little movie is there spinning. And so what you do first, you see that you're caught in this spin in the mind. First, you notice, you recognize, I see my mind is in this trap. And then you put a full stop to that movie, that spinning train of thought. You put a full stop. Now, sometimes the mind wants to start right back up because it's very persistent. You know how that movie ends. You've seen that movie so many times. You've seen that movie. It's a rerun, right? You've seen it over and over again, and you don't have to watch it again. So you tell your mind, I'm going to stop this movie. I'm not going to watch the indignation movie, or I'm not going to watch the worry about my son movie, or I'm going to stop that movie. And you do this with great determination. The determination is really important. You have to really be determined. I'm going to stop this movie. Now, the mind will get quiet when you do that. But the mind doesn't like to stay quiet very long. So don't sit there with an empty mind. You get something to give the mind, and you take that something from up in the timeless space. So if you're worried about your son, then you pull from the timeless space faith. I have faith in the soul. I have faith in destiny. Let me not share my worry about my son. Let me share my faith, because worry is a vibration. When you worry about your son, you create an ocean of worry around that soul. And when you have faith in his destiny, now you create an ocean of currents of faith around that soul. So you invoke this timeless state, in this case, faith, and you hold that state. You hold the state of faith. Let's try another one. Let's say you're feeling anxious. Maybe you're anxious about money. Maybe you're anxious about something you have to do. So that anxiety, that movie, the anxiety movie that's running in your mind is creating waves of anxiety around you and around everybody you touch. They all feel more anxious because you are anxious. Even if they're not in the room with you, if they're connected with you, they pick up that anxious song. So you put the full stop. You've noticed you're feeling anxious. You put the full stop, stop the anxiety movie, and now you're going to invoke a deep and powerful sense of peace. It's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. Let me be at peace. Let me make my mind at peace. Maybe you're seeing a clear lake. Maybe you're seeing a blue sky. You're bringing yourself into peace. And as you bring yourself to peace, you are shifting the currents around you. You are now in an ocean of peace. The stronger your meditation practice, the bigger your capacity for your spiritual stage, the longer you can hold that state of peace. Okay, so let's bring ourselves back out of that. And let me ask you, were you able to track with that? Were you able to follow? Did you see the sequence here that, yes? Most of you, I'm just trusting. Okay, thank you, Crystal, for the thumbs up. I can't really see most of you, so I'm just going on faith here myself. All right. Now I want to raise one other thing, because what I just described to you it's what she was talking about, and it works. And the more you do it, the more quickly you will be able to do it. At first, it's clumsy, right? At first, you kind of want to keep thinking the thing you were thinking. It's hard to get, first you don't even notice. Then you finally notice and you say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been there for 20 minutes thinking that wasteful thought. So then you start trying to stop it. It won't stop. You hit it again and again. Stop, stop, stop. Finally, it stops. And then you move into this space. But the next time you do it, so maybe you do that at 9 a.m. and then you notice at 11 again, I'm back there again. I can't believe it. I'm back there again. You do it again, but this time it doesn't take so long. This time you're actually able to go there pretty quickly. Your mind goes, oh, okay, I see what we're doing. Your mind is a little bit like a dog, right? Once you tell it what you want it to do and you give it treats, then it will go and do what you want it to do. So at 11 o'clock, it says, oh, okay, I get it. I see what we're doing. And if you keep doing that, so again, you see yourself in that spot again at 4 o'clock, you do it again. And now you see that actually you're developing some skill at this. You're developing some spiritual skill. The reason the mind likes it is because the timeless state that you offer the mind is a comfort for the mind, because it's the soul's innate nature. The soul is naturally peaceful. The soul is naturally loving, kind, compassionate, etc. These are not alien states for the soul. They may be places you don't visit very often because you've got these movies running. But when you stop the movies and go to those places, they actually are your natural nature. So when Dottie was saying to me, I'm not going to take anything off your plate, you're doing it wrong, go up above, what she was saying is you don't need to be fatigued. You don't need to be tired. You are tiring yourself because you're hanging out down here in these limited states of mind. So bring yourself up here, revive the self, make your trips down into the limited just trips, not the permanent state that you live in. So you with me so far? I want to go one more step. Okay. So when you bring the full stop to the mind, when you bring that train, that runaway train that is the mind to a stop, what you're doing is you are stabilizing yourself as the true self. All right. So, in other words, what really makes this work is when you stabilize, when you do the full stop, you stabilize here because that's the seat of the true self. The true self is this conscient light, this spark of light that lives behind the eyes. That is the permanent home of the self. It's the seat of the soul, as they call it. So when you do the full stop, you're taking a minute and you're going to there, and you're consciously, intentionally sitting yourself in that place. Now, when you do that, there's a certain amount of perspective that comes to you as the soul, because in that space, you are the eternal being. In that space, you have access to your original qualities. You have access to purity. You have access to peace, to this outpouring of love that is spiritual love, different from romantic love, even a little different from parental love, although I think parents get pretty close to spiritual love. Your joy, not happiness that came because I've been waiting to get that mint chip ice cream cone and I finally got it. Not that, but that super sensuous joy that wells up inside when you're in a state of real attainment, real seeing the long view of your life. So from that place, you have a couple of choices. One is the one we just did. So when you stabilize here, you do the full stop, now you're stable here, that's when you can easily invoke those states. Okay, let me have sympathy for this soul. Let me have mercy for this one who's really, really struggling. Let me have good wishes for that one. Let me be patient. I know this soul is doing the best they can. I know they can't do any better right now, so let me have patience for this one. So all of that is possible, but there's something else that is possible. And this, I suppose, depends on the depth of your practice and the length of your practice. And that is the soul can link to the source. All souls have a tether of light, an invisible tether of light that goes to the source of life, to the source of love, the one that everyone has a different name for, the great spirit, the bright light, the one above, God, whatever. All souls have that connection. Because we spend most of our time down in the time traps, connecting to people and train schedules and movies and Amazon and everything else, we don't keep that line clear. It's kind of like if there's a big field and nobody's walked in it for a long time, and you look at the field, there's no path, right? So you kind of find your way. But if you go the next day, you can see where you walked the previous day, and you keep doing that, and now you've got a path. This is sort of the same with your tether to the source. You have a natural connection to the source. I know a lot of people find it to be a tricky conversation, controversial. You're talking about something invisible. How can you talk to me about something invisible? But it's only invisible if you don't have an inner eye. If you've been meditating, your inner eye is open or is opening. And as it opens, you can both sense the presence and feel the light from that source. I hope I'm telling you something you have already glimpsed. Even if you aren't able to access it every day, I hope I'm telling you something that you have felt, that you have certainty about that connection, because that is the most powerful resource for the soul. When the soul makes contact with the source, its spiritual parent, its home, everything changes. Because yes, you can invoke gratitude, or you can invoke compassion, or you can invoke sympathy. But if you can forge your connection with the source, what happens to the soul is the soul receives a downpour, an outpouring of light and love and power. Way more powerful than invoking those eternal qualities. So if all we can do is invoke gratitude and peace, then for sure do that, because that's reviving. But if we can make that connection between the soul and the source, this is transforming. The only way that the soul actually transforms, the only way that the soul actually recovers its original, beautiful, vibrant, life-giving nature is by making that connection. And it's not that that source has gone away from us. We have obscured our contact because we've been down in these traps of time. We've been in yoga with Amazon. We've been in yoga with Whole Foods. We've been in yoga with our jobs, right? We've been our attention has been wrapped in these other things. We've been locked in with those. Whenever our attention is focused on something, there is an exchange, right? This is why your mother told you not to hang out with bad people, right? Watch the crowd you're hanging out with, because it's not innocent. When our attention goes to something, there is an exchange of energy. We tend to come into rapport with that thing. So because we have been attaching ourselves to mundane things, because we have been connecting to things that are ordinary or negative, becoming anxious and worried and afraid and sad, we've lost the connection. It's like we can't find it. It's like we're walking down a hallway and we're thinking, I know there was a door here somewhere. There is a door there somewhere. The door has been standing open at the other end. The source never leaves the soul. The source never leaves the true self. All spiritual paths have stories, whether it's the prodigal son or whatever, where the child wanders off and the parent is searching or waiting. That's our situation. The source, the spiritual parent, is completely available to the true self. And what your meditation practice should lead you to is it should lead you to that door. And when you get to that door, you'll find it's fully open. You don't have to knock on the door. The door is open, and that being, that presence, that powerful light and consciousness is there, available. So when you connect to that, then your tiredness completely drops away. You can't even remember that you felt tired. It is instantly reviving. That's how you know that you've actually made the connection. Because at first you could be not quite sure, okay, I'm here in my consciousness of my true self, but am I in the right lane? Am I going at this the right way? At first you can feel uncertain, but actually it's very natural. It's available to every soul. You do not need an intermediary. You don't need a priest or a monk or a nun or permission or a secret prayer or anything like that. The soul is naturally tethered to this spiritual parent, this source. And this is what brings the soul back to its full life, brings it back to full peace, brings it back to unlimited love, brings it back to inner joy. So it's the same process, right? First, we have to recognize that we're stuck. We have to recognize that our mind is down there trudging along in some ordinary sequence of thoughts, running some old rerun movie we've watched 1,000 times. Oh my gosh, I'm there again. And then we bring it to a stop. And then we turn up. And depending on our capacity, we either invoke something from the eternal, eternal quality, or we make that contact with the source. Now let me just pause a minute, see if you have any questions or thoughts, and then we can close with a little meditation, but I'm happy to think with you about something. If you've got
Sister
any...
Judy, there is a question.
Right?
I said, we can feel it, but mind takes over soon after.
That's right. That mind is such a trickster. A lot of building spiritual capacity is learning how to quiet the mind. Because the mind, we have let them run wild. It's like we get a rescue dog and nobody taught it anything. The mind has been allowed to wander and connect with anything. And we have also, we are very seduced by our devices and by media, honestly. We hear some little ding and we grab our phone like it's a life and death proposition. And we find ourselves reading all kinds of stuff, right? So the mind, we haven't been taking care of the mind. And so the mind isn't helping us. The mind isn't our friend. But if you make a determined thought, okay, I really, really want to bring my mind to peace, and I really want to be able to sustain this connection, it'll do that. You absolutely can do that. And this meditation that Anita spent 5 or 6 minutes telling you all the different ways you could be supported, it's one way to do that. And it's a really good way to do that. But I know what you mean about the mind. You make your connection and you're there for a second, right? And then off it goes. Yeah. And I see from Loveline Sidhu, how do we connect with the source instead of just invoking positive quality? Well, it's sort of a matter of, this is a little bit about mastery. So once you have quieted your mind, I guess what I would recommend is, I think sometimes rather than fewer big long meditations, sometimes you're better off doing more shorter meditations, because you're teaching your mind how to pull itself away from something else and how to come to where you want it to go. Because whether we notice it or not, we direct the mind. We give it a thought. We give the mind a thought and the mind goes there. Now, sometimes the mind just gives itself a thought. I think I'll go replay this old movie. But we can also give our mind a thought and take our mind to a certain place. So when I'm describing to you, pull yourself out of the trap, bring it to a full stop, take yourself to one of those eternal positive qualities. You'll do that intentionally. You'll tell your mind gratitude, or you'll tell your mind mercy, or you'll tell your mind kindness. You'll give it something that the mind will then create, right? You're invoking something with that word. But if you tell your mind after it's at peace, now I want you to go to God. I want you to go to the source. I want you to go to the light, to go home. It will go there. Now, the more you've taken it there, the more it will know the way. That's why your meditation practice is so important. It's really important that you meditate every day. Not just sometimes, not just when you feel bad, or not just when you feel good. Some people only do it when they feel good. Some people only do it when they feel bad. Both of them are a bad idea. If you only do it when you feel good, then when you feel bad, you don't have the capacity. If you only do it when you feel bad, then you're making it hard for yourself, right? Whereas if every day you take your mind to that place, then when you need your mind, it will come. When you say to your mind, okay, come to a full stop and be at peace, it will come. If you say, now, go to the source, it will go and it will pull that divine love and power and light down. But you have to have a practice. You can't just hope spontaneously it'll do it if you haven't been practicing, right? So, anything else before we do a little quick meditation? Anything on your mind or in your heart?
That was so helpful. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I know you can do it really well, because if I can do it, you can do it. Okay. So let's become quiet. And turn your attention inside. And if there's any wasteful things or old movies or time trap going on in your mind, bring it to a full stop. With great determination, tell your mind to stop. And now become aware of yourself on the seat of the soul. You're sitting right behind the eyes. You're a tiny star, a spark of light consciousness. You're completely at peace. You are peace. So the vibrations of peace move into every cell in the body. Your eyes are at peace. Your heart at peace. Your breath at peace. You are peace. Nothing can disturb you. Now, from this place, this seat of the soul, from this ocean of peace that you are, with one thought, take yourself to your spiritual home. Take yourself to the source, to your spiritual parent, to the one above. And as you do that, you'll feel an outpouring of peace, an unlimited love. Allow this to pour into the soul. Bringing you fully back to life. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you.